You are listening to the Warrior Project podcast, where mindset, tribe, and violence meet.
My name is Justin Garcia, also known as Master Chim, and welcome to the Warrior Project podcast. If you guys have not yet visited thewarriorproject.com, please do so. Not only will you find the episodes of this podcast archived for your enjoyment and convenience, but you'll also find the ability to join the Warrior Project Tribe, which is my membership site. On that membership site, there is a whole array of different features and benefits. I'm not going to bore you with them right now. I may in future episodes. But suffice it to say, a visit to thewarriorproject.com will answer all of your questions. So, speaking of questions, this episode's query: what is weakness? What is weakness? Well, weakness, I'd say, let's backtrack a sec. Often in language, the spirit of a word is either lost, hijacked, or misinterpreted. Weakness, I would say, is one such word. So what winds up happening is an idea, a thought, a concept, a feeling, an emotion. It winds up getting sort of funneled and reduced down to a sound, right? What we call a word. And too often in language, the word then takes on a life of its own, and sometimes the original sort of connection to that original concept is lost. And with weakness, it's a term in today's society that I would say is not only prevalent in its existence, weakness that is, but the term itself is hijacked and just completely misunderstood by so many people or would-be commenters on what weakness is. So I remember a few weeks ago online, it was one of my videos, maybe something on YouTube, where I had gotten somebody who criticized my definition of weakness, and said something to the effect of, well, nobody's going to accept this definition of weakness. And there is a sort of, a fallacy in his thinking, in terms of him trying to correct me or put me back on mission. Because whatever, the term weakness is to him, it's irrelevant. What I'm commenting on is exactly what I'm defining as weakness. So the definition and making sure that people are using like terms is important, right? It's important. And it allows us to start off with the same understanding of the premise. In this case, the premise that I'm putting out there and expounding upon. So my definition of weakness: I define weakness as the refusal to and condemnation of climbing the personal ladder of power, right? So when you're looking at, and this is probably a topic for another podcast I'll do one day, what I call a master's mindset. Somebody who does not define himself in terms of the perspective of other people's, other identities, right? Somebody who I would consider somebody who had a master mindset is somebody who is not worried about what anybody else thinks. He's worried about what his mission is and his sort of compliance and pursuit of that mission. Well, weakness is somebody who not only refuses to climb, his or her personal ladder of power, but somebody who then, in addition to, oftentimes, will condemn the act of climbing itself, right? So weakness a lot of times is misinterpreted, and this is the slave's perspective that leads to this misinterpretation. It's defined as some sort of distance, right, or disparity between two people. If one person is stronger than the other, there's a sort of just a general broad brush assessment and comparison that's made. Like I could say that I'm stronger than my wife, but am I stronger than my wife in lifting weights? Yeah. Am I stronger in my wife in the motivation to do the things that, like the energy that she has to look after and take care of my 4 kids? she is definitely stronger than I am in that application of what we would say strength is. So a weakness a lot of times falls victim to the same misinterpretation. They think of weakness in an application that is completely their own, right? They're operating under their own biases, and they're applying the application of the concept of weakness. And then anybody else that uses the term, they try to act as if those people are commenting through their own personal lens, So just because I look at the world this way, I cannot assume that people look at the world through my eyes when they're commenting on the world, as it were. So when I look at weakness, it's often something that's contagious, right? It's contagious amongst those who I would cite as being sort of on the fence, right? Those who might need maybe tribe or new information or training to continue their climb, right? They need to be exposed to some sort of either shot of strength or some sort of synergistic type environment where they gain the strength to overcome their present obstacles, right? I call those people as being on the fence where strength and weakness is concerned. A lot of times you put those people around the right people, you put them amongst the right tribes and the right, environments, and they're going to continue their climb. They're going to have the power and strength to do so. But when those people are around weak individuals, they're very easily pulled in the opposite direction. They're sort of sold this idea. They are persuaded to believe that climbing the ladder of strength is something that may not be in their best interest. It may not be something they're even capable of doing. And because they have this doubt, they apply a sort of value judgment on the climb itself. These are the people that say, you're always trying to be stronger. You're always trying to do more, and it's a waste of time, or you're arrogant, or you're this or that, or and whatever the case is. So if we look at the world through the eyes of a slave, everybody who's doing what you're not doing, everybody who is sort of exploiting those things that you have the most vulnerability and insecurity about, these people are always going to look to you as slaves look to masters. And the masters are always going to be inherently evil in the slave's mind, right? It's a little Nietzsche reference there. But the thing is, when you are weak, you get to the point where your energy is going to be dedicated towards something, and oftentimes it's making sure that you make everybody around you as weak as you are, right? Because it's all about comfort. It's all about feeling good, not necessarily being good, not necessarily doing good. So it's going to be in your best interest if you're looking at the world through a weak mindset. It's going to be more productive and effective for you to make everybody else support your worldview. Right? You don't want to be judged by people, because judgment of other people is part of how you value yourself, right? And this is what weakness is all about. This is the formula for weakness, and how it sabotages people's ability to really cultivate their own potential, their own power, right? So what's my take? Well, weakness should be seen for what it is. Weakness is poor mindset, right? Weakness is not, a physical weakness. I have a 600 plus pound squat, right? I could squat over 600 pounds. I am very strong compared to most of society. There are gyms that I will walk in, and I will be putting the weights on the bar for other people because of how weak I am in comparison to them in the application of the squat per se, right? So to look at you as weak or strong based on the comparison to other people, it's limited, it's inaccurate, it's false, right? It's not true. And a couple of the phrases I use in my academy all the time, it's like, do you want to be the tallest midget, right? The older phrase is, or saying is, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Whatever, when you compare yourself to other people, whatever those people represent, you're just trying to almost go +1, to where they are, right? So if somebody is not capable of maintaining a certain amount of discipline, so long as you do a little bit better than them, you feel that you are strong, if that is how you look at the world, right? But that's a weak perspective. So weakness is, in its essence, poor mindset. How do we handle weak thinking? Well, weak thinking should be mocked. It should be mocked no matter the one spewing said weakness, right? One of the things that I am very, very adamant about and a proponent of is self-correcting tribal cultures, and the saying that I have is, I mock you so I don't punish you. I punish you so I don't exile you. I exile you so I don't kill you. I kill you to save the tribe. And I think when we look at that sort of escalation of consequence, weakness is a step in the wrong direction. And because it can be so contagious for would-be, individuals who need help or need assistance or are at a point where they could use the synergy of a group, weakness is something that will push them off the edge in the wrong direction, which is why it should be checked, right? There should be a consequence. And mocking, is my consequence of choice, right? It's my go-to consequence. And a lot of times, in my experience, and those of you that know me, are familiar with this, but I have a personality that really doesn't, sugarcoat things. I don't try to convince people to be consistent. I don't try to convince people to be good. What I do is I try to set a good example. And I call people on their nonsense. And it's not something that has won me a tremendous percentage of friends, amongst the various or the entire group of people that maybe I've met during the course of my life. But the people who are close to me, they understand that it's never a personal attack. It's never a criticism of their worth as an individual, their potential, or their ability to climb the ladder. It's always me mocking that part of their mindset that I feel is holding them back and will eventually hold everybody else back in the tribe, right? So that's weakness. I hope you guys enjoyed that talk. Aside from visiting thewarriorproject.com, which I talked about in the beginning, you should also visit masterchim.com, right? masterchim.com, because that's where you put your email in to receive the Master Chim letter. The Master Chim letter is a daily morning email that I send out to everybody, on the Master Chim letter list. And sometimes I talk about announcements, sometimes updates, but most of the time I have something, a little bit of maybe an anecdote or an idea and thought that I want to share. And it's yet another way that I could share what I feel is the power that's going to sort of get us all up our personal ladders of power. All right, so check that out. I appreciate you guys. And remember, warriors, somebody believes in you. Prove them right.